Right. Are we okay? We've got new image up on my screen.
Yep, you're good to go, Chair. Thank you.
Good, that's good. Right. Good evening, and welcome to the planning meeting held by the virtue of the new regulations introduced by the government. I am Councillor Dean and I will be chairing the meeting this evening. The regulations have temporarily removed the legal requirement for local authorities to hold public meetings in person. This will enable councils to make effective and transparent decisions on the delivery of services for residents. The requirement of public meetings to be made accessible for the public remains, and the link to the virtual meeting is available on the council's website and the usual live meeting link page. If a connection to members is lost during the meeting, I will stop the meeting and enable the connection to be restored. If the connection cannot be restored within a reasonable time, the meeting will proceed, but the member who was disconnected will not be able to vote on the matter under discussion, as they will have missed all the facts. Should any aspect of the external link fail, I may call a short adjournment up to 5 minutes or so to determine whether connection can be quickly re-established, either by video technology or telephone in the alternative. If the connection is not restored within that time, the meeting will be adjourned and any further business will not proceed until another time and date. Any public questions properly submitted to the meeting will be read by myself and answered at the meeting. Firstly, can I ask the clerk to ask members to confirm their attendance?
Councillor Davis?
Present.
Councillor Gary?
Present.
Councillor Gloucester?
Present.
Councillor Harkness?
Present.
Councillor Hewitt? Councillor Hewitt? No. Councillor Ibrahim?
Present.
Councillor Iqbal? Councillor Iqbal? Councillor Jakes?
Present.
Alec?
Present.
Councillor Vivian?
Present.
Serjan?
Present.
Present. Okay. When the committee comes to...
Chair?
Yes, sorry.
It's Councillor Akhtar just joined in as well.
All right. Okay, thank you. When the committee comes to a vote on any item, each member will be individually asked to state whether they are for, against or abstaining on that item. We also have officers in attendance from the Planning and Legal and Constitutional Services departments. If we can now turn to the agenda. For the benefit of those members of the public watching, a full agenda pack is available on the council website. The pack also includes the slides that will be presented this evening. Item 1, do we have any apologies for absence?
We've received apologies from Councillor Hudson.
Thank you. Item 2, urgent business. We have no urgent business, I believe, at the meeting.
None received, Chair.
No, thank you. Item 3, has any member got any declarations of interest?
No.
Item 4, we've received no public questions.
No, Chair.
No. Right. Item 5, the minutes of the previous meeting. Are those agreed? I'll just take any dissent. Yeah, okay, thank you. Agreed. Item 6 is item 6 and 7 will take together. This is the application. Both applications was deferred, and it concerns the Dog and Partridge public land and a development adjacent to the Dog and Partridge house on Medlock Road, Dalesworth, and the items 6 and 7 are the change of conditions that's being requested. Is Matthew leading this?
Yes, Chair. Yeah. Would you like me to run through the design?
If you could just run through this. If members recollect, it got deferred, so there could be some photographs showed of the development to get it more in perspective.
I'll just bring.
Thank you, Steve.
So, thank you, Chair. The first presentation is in relation to the application, which was to amend the design, the layout and some of the levels and the roof heights, if you remember rightly. So going forward, just to give everyone a perspective of where the location is, the application site is the area edged red. And this is just an aerial shot which you'll have all seen before, just showing the position of the Dog and Partridge pub and the associated parks that you can see whereabouts it is, and the golf course. This is the list of differences between the schemes. So it's removal of house type number 4, and then it's house types 5, 6 and 7 have been added to allow the variations, including 1, 2 and 3 to the scheme, and then an increase in ridge heights of the original house types 1, 2 and 3, and then some confirmation in terms of ground levels, because following the application, when they started on site, they realised that the levels were slightly out in terms of what they'd produced, and they had a more in-depth study done, and they provided that information to us. So this is the layout, and the slide here just shows the differences. So this is what was originally approved, and this is the new one, and obviously the colours dictate the house types and where they are. Going forward, this is the street scenes, just showing the difference, and then these are the site visit photos that the members requested. So this is the view. This is the view taken from Medlock Road. This is the Dog and Partridge pub. This is a new section of houses that have recently been erected in the last couple of years, and this is the house on the corner of the entrance. And obviously that's a view of that house on the corner of the entrance and the new houses. This is a shot taken directly down the entrance road, so this would be the entrance here, and this is the first two properties that face down the entrance, and then obviously these two are positioned behind this property here and the newer properties. This is the view from inside the Dog and Partridge public house, looking sort of down the estate. So you can see these are the only two that rears face onto the public house / the park, and then the rest all face front on with the access road. This is the view taken from Stamford Drive and the park. So you can see this is the sort of dog leg element where it comes round, and there's houses at the end of the estate, and then this is the view of the houses coming down the road, which overlook the park and the access road. Following the questions from the councillors and the requests for further information in terms of changing of the levels and the heights, the applicant's agent actually did provide this slide to us. So he's sort of provided an indicative line here, this red line, and then he's put side by side of just the view that was being spoken about at the committee in terms of the level differences. So you can see here, these are the heights of the existing properties.
We've lost that picture, Matthew.
Okay. Just give it a second, maybe it's the connection.
I can still see the
I can as well.
Yeah.
I can still see it as well.
Okay. So obviously the lower one is what was previously approved, and these are obviously the two corresponding properties at the entrance, and then these are the newer development ones that you saw on the site photo earlier, and you can see that the height difference there where it comes up, and it is just below the house on the left, which is 111 Medlock Road, but you can see the difference anyway. So I feel that's quite a good visual guide. This is house type 1, and then obviously in the corner there is the original house type 4, which is a similar design, just to give you to give you the perspective of the change. The same for house type 2. You can see I provided one at the bottom there so you can compare them. House type 3. And then house type 5, because house type 4 is being deleted. So house type 5 is one of the ones that they're adding. And so is type 6. It's a new house type, which is very similar to house type 3 and house type 7. And that's it.
Okay.
Stop sharing.
Has anybody got any questions at this stage?
Could I ask a question, please, Chair?
Yes, certainly.
Thank you. I know that the reason it was deferred was about the heights, wasn't it, of the houses that have been built against the existing properties. And I think, to be fair, the pictures that have been taken very cleverly, because the angle they've been taken from actually distorts the height of the property, apart from the one on page 19, where I'm assuming that is an existing house that was already in place and the new houses are actually next to it. Is that correct?
All the site visit photos were taken by myself from public vantage points, taken
Right. I just think
with a regular camera.
Sorry, I just think the way that you've taken them doesn't really give a true view of the heights. But that one on page 19, the first photograph there, I'm assuming, is that an existing property and then the new builds are next to it?
Struggling to know what you mean by page 19.
I think
On page 19 of the pack, it says site photos 25th of the 11th 20 taken from Medlock Road.
Okay.
And there's already it looks like a single detached property, and then there's 2 of the new builds next to it, I think.
So it's the second slide taken from so you're saying the one taken from Medlock Road or the one taken from the entrance?
From Medlock Road.
So the one taken from Medlock Road is just to show and give some context of what is at the front of the site as you're entering it, and give you context that those 3 properties there in the left-hand photo are recently developed properties that are of a similar ilk and a similar height.
Right,
when you look at the slide where they provide the comparison, which is slide 11, when you see the street scene comparison and photo montage detail, you can actually see that in terms of overall design, with those front-facing gables features picked out and the actual overall height, you can see they're actually comparable. That's why that photo was put in, just to give some context to it.
Yeah, okay. And then the one taken from Stamford Drive.
Yes.
That's obviously a bungalow with a dormer on the top, isn't it? And obviously you can't see with those properties because they haven't got the full height of them on, really. So I do actually think it's quite difficult from these photographs to get, because I know that people were saying they look really tall. Now, I don't think they look tall off these photographs against the existing dwellings, but I think it's just the way that they're taken. So I'm still a little bit confused as to how high they are off the photographs. I thought we would get a better array of photographs.
Apart from the photo montage photo, which is pretty much the same photo as what I've taken, that is a standard photo taken with my phone to provide you them. There's no difference, in my opinion, personal opinion, from standing there and taking the photos to what you see on the screen. And I mean, just to compare, we also the report clarifies the difference in heights overall.
Yeah.
We were talking about a metre difference, and I mean, over the actual difference in height is between 0.5 and 0.8 between the house types, because obviously it varies marginally between different house types.
Yeah.
So the height difference, as we've said before, in terms of an officer recommendation, we feel that it's not significant enough to be harmful over and above what's already there. It's a minimal change.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Surgeon.
Thank you, Chair. It's just a follow-up question to Councillor Gloucester's comment about Medlock Road and the houses. So the house that you've taken on the photo next to the existing house, is that a new house, or was that house already there prior to the houses being built behind it? Just so I can get an idea about how high the buildings are.
So it's slide 7 on the presentation pack, because I don't have the full pack like you've got. I just have them 2 separate documents. And are you talking about the photo on the left, which shows a run of 3 properties and then 1 detached property with a traditional street lamp?
It's the first one, the first slide with the photos on it. So it says site photo, 25th of November 2020. It's the 3 houses on one section with the triangles, and then with the previous house. Yeah. So
the house on the corner, the large detached house, that predates both developments. The 3 houses to the left, which you're talking about, they've been erected in the last couple of years.
Right. So it's not part of the houses behind it, is it?
No.
It's separate.
They were the same. It's the same developer.
Right.
They erected those first, and then obviously by virtue of building out them, which replaced a derelict garage, I think they then sort of progressed towards getting the land behind.
Right. So can I just clarify? So the houses that are on the one that was built a few years back, so are all the houses at the moment built to that same height, or is it slightly higher than that at this current moment in time?
As you can see from the photo montage one, if you compare the 2, I would say that they're about the same height, give or take. I'd say they're marginally below it given the ground level, but their overall height is as shown on that street scene.
Mr. Dickman, do you want to come in?
Yeah. Thank you, Chair. I think it was following on really from Councillor Gloucester's comments earlier on regarding the photographs and the purpose of the information that's being provided. I think some of the other comments we had was obviously the village, if you like, as a tradition, but over the years there are some more modern properties that have become part of the street scene and part of what's become established. And the ones that you're focusing on at the front of the site are part of that. So in terms of the design, the style of those, because of the large gables, they give this taller impression of properties, and that's reflected in the new development. When Matthew took the photographs of the various vantage points, what we were looking at is the impact of the development from public vantage points around the site. So each you're thinking of the conservation area, thinking of how it fits in with the surroundings. So that's why they're taken at a distance, and they're taken at a distance because those are the viewpoints that people would get. So for instance, from Stamford Drive, as you're looking at across, you're seeing these properties there, and they have like the traditional 2 stories, but then in the roof space, you have additional accommodation that appears there. Yet those properties, when you look at them from that distance, that's the impression you've got to look at. Is that out of character so much within that area that you would be able to justify refusal of the application? And the second linked point to that is that obviously this scheme already has an approval. So I think, again, as Matthew explained at the last meeting, the heights have increased slightly, 1 because of the ground levels have gone up, and 2 because the overall height of the building has gone up. But the actual character of those buildings is actually very similar to what's already been approved. So when you're judging them from a distance, which is where most people from a public vantage point would view them from, the perception is not going to be significantly different. And I think that's the conclusion we've made. So there's no sort of attempt to disguise the height of them. It's more to give an impression of what you would see as a member of the public or a neighbouring resident when you're looking at these buildings. Really, I just hope that's a little bit more use, really, just giving a context of why the presentation's been designed in the way it has. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Akhtar, did you want to make a comment on?
I did, yeah. It just on the back of, with due respect to Councillor Gloucester, and I personally know that she's not like that, but it was just one of the comments that she made about the way, how cleverly the photographs were taken. I think that questions Matthew's integrity into question, and it would be helpful, Councillor Gloucester, if you took those remarks back. Personally, I think it just, obviously you didn't mean it that way, but we're in a public meeting, and it could be taken in the wrong way.
Yeah, I apologise that I really didn't mean that. I just think it's the way it's. We were discussing the heights of the properties, and I don't think from the photographs you can see, but I do understand what Mr. Dickman's saying about from the public vantage point. And all I was trying to say is that we were discussing the heights of the properties, and from these photographs, I don't see that there's an issue with the heights of the properties, and that's what I was trying to clarify, really. So I do apologise if I have offended anybody, because that really was not my intention. Thank you.
Councillor Marley.
Thanks, Chair. It's just a quick question. You know, we're talking about the height. Does Matthew Taylor have the measurement of the height of the building? Can he confirm from ground to the height from the ground to the reach point, please? From the height.
If you just give me a moment, I'll have to get the plans up. Yeah, take me a minute, Tim.
Thank you.
Councillor Jakes, did you want to make a comment while Matthew's looking at them?
Yeah, it was just in regard to the photographs, because obviously at the last meeting I asked for it to be deferred because I'd been sent photographs by residents, and their photographs from a different vantage point did look totally different. And I think what Councillor Gloucester was saying, that that actually sometimes, you know, it is how things are interpreted. So the photographs today look much better than the ones I was sent for in regard to the height of the houses.
Right. Is there any more questions before we go on to where we're going with this first condition, this first application of change of condition? If nobody's got any further comments, or they don't want any to contribute into the debate, I will move for item 6 that we actually approve this. I think that it's very difficult to judge the heights, and I understand people getting slightly confused in the sense that obviously there's the pub at the one side and it's open ground on 2 of the other sides as well, so it becomes difficult to actually get a proper perspective. But I will move approval of item 6. I don't know whether that's seconded.
I'm happy to second that.
I'll second that, Peter.
Thank you. Okay, if we could take a vote, please, on that.
So I'll only ask members who were in attendance at the last meeting. Councillor Davis?
For.
Councillor Gary?
Approve.
Foster?
For approval.
Councillor Harkness?
For.
Councillor Jakes?
Abstain.
Sorry, could you repeat that?
Abstain.
I'd like to abstain on, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Vivian?
For.
Councillor Surgeon?
For.
And Councillor Dean?
For. Thank you very much.
That's 7 for and 1 abstention.
Thank you. So that is that's approved. If we go on to item 7, which is, are you going to outline the conditional change that's being asked for at item 7, Matthew? Or is it
Yes.
Mr. Dick?
No, yeah, yes, I can do, yeah. I'll just 1 second, I'll just get the presentation up. So this application relates to the variation of conditions 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 10 and 13. Again, that's the application site edged in red and the same aerial. And then we've provided the photos on this one as well. So you've all had a good look at them previously, so I'll skim through them. So relation number 1, that relates to the time limit, and obviously that is a requirement as part of the Act. So that one has been agreed that it won't be removed or vary with the applicant. So that one is to stay as it was. Condition number 2 relates to the conditions, relates to the approved plans, and obviously that is varied to deal with the information that's submitted for the other conditions, and also to make this a rounded permission that includes the plans and the design changes that you've just approved on the other application. They're also listed in the variation of this condition. Condition number 3 relates to the materials. Obviously, the photos give you an indication of what those materials look like on site, but also this slide's there just to show you a bit more in depth. Condition number 4 relates to the off-street hard standing and the provision of that, and it's to be a permeable finish, and this is the detail that relates to that. Condition number 5 relates to the drainage, and they've provided the drainage strategy and designs, and these have been considered by our drainage team, and they've been deemed to be acceptable, and they've approved the details that have been given. So this condition.
I wonder if just if members could turn the microphone off if they aren't speaking, please, to be helpful.
I think it might be there's just a couple of people left in the office.
All right.
I'll just one second. Yeah, they can hear you. Sorry. Yeah. So just left, so we're all right now. Sorry, I've come in the office because there's a better internet connection. So condition number 5 relates to the drainage, and these details have been there was numerous back and forth with the developer's agent and the developer in relation to getting these details right with our drainage / lead local flood authority. They have now given the details, provided their approval, and the condition been varied to take account of the fact that the development should be implemented wholly in accordance with the approved in principle details that they've provided us. So that condition's varied to take account of that. Number 6 is in relation to the protection of the watercourse. They've submitted a phase 1 ecology survey. This has been considered by Greater Manchester Ecology Unit, and therefore the pre-commencement portion of that condition has been dealt with, and it's been varied to that they will work on site in accordance with that ecology survey. Condition rates in relation to tree protection. They've provided details of how they intend to protect trees, and going forward this is what they would work to. But there has been this was late in happening, and there has been some damage and some removal of trees outside of the site which bound the site, but that issue has been addressed by additional planting inside the planting, which is part of the landscaping scheme, which you can see here. This is the planting, and the types of planting has been considered by our arboricultural officer, and he's happy with the replacement numbers and the sizing of them in relation to overhead lines and things that are present on site. They've had different tree types down in this bottom corner to address that. And then the final one is in relation. Sorry, not the final one. Condition 10 is for the protection of birds. That that condition is there and it's to be attached, and it doesn't relate. It's not a pre-commencement one. So condition number 11 relates to landfill gas and contaminated land. They've submitted a survey and details of how they're submitting. They're going to implement gas membranes, and so the pre-commencement portion of this original condition has been dealt with, and this has been varied to take account of that, and our environmental health section have approved the details they submitted. Condition number 13 was in relation to providing the site entrance, and basically there was a move in to get visibility. They had to change the entrance here. I do believe there's an arrangement with the owner of this, or the applicant now owns this property, and this wall has been changed, and this wall therefore won't be moved again, so it allows this radius that you can see there. And that's all of it.
Right. Thank you very much, Matthew. Has anybody got any questions at all? Councillor Jakes.
Thank you. Matthew, thank you for agreeing to talk through the drainage strategy, which was obviously a real concern to us at the time. I have read the reports on this and looked at some of the other documents, which I have to say are really technical and above my understanding of it. But are we absolutely 100% convinced that this development is not going to cause any problems for drainage for the new owners of the properties and the existing house owners in Woodhouses?
As like you say, you're not best placed to comment on it. Sorry, to say that it's definitely correct. Sorry, I shouldn't say that. And I'm the same. I require, as a planning officer, I'm not a drainage or flood expert. So I've gone out to our in-house people, the drainage team and the LFA, Local Flood Authority, and they have worked really hard to get the best possible scheme. And there has been a lot of communication between them and the developer to make sure that the final details there that are before us are right. And I was copied in on all the conversations, so I've seen the work that's gone into it, and I'm personally feel assured that it is right, because they're now confident in saying that the pre-commencement portion of that original condition has been dealt with, and they've allowed us to vary it to take account of the submitted information that's before you, to say that the development has to be complete in accordance with these details to do with the drainage.
Can I ask another question, Chair?
Yeah.
Sorry,
yes,
my screen's completely frozen, so I can't see anybody for some reason. With condition number 11, the landfill gas contaminated land, it talks about the site being amber with ground glass, but in the original report, it talked about asbestos from an old garage. I do still get concerned that these houses are being built without confirmation. I know they've got to be done before they're occupied, but what checks are in place that people aren't buying houses with contaminated land?
So in relation to that, we sit in a position where this element of protecting future occupiers is sort of dual track. So it's picked up by our environmental health colleagues when we consult them on planning applications, but it's also picked up by building regulations. So there's two different areas of legislation that sort of cross over at this point, and they both deal with it. So we obviously get advised that it needs to have that report done and a remediation strategy, which is the pre-commencement part of the original condition 11, which is what they've given us. Those have been checked by our environmental health colleagues, and they consider the report that they've provided is sufficient in terms of it's in depth, and they've done the correct procedures to make an assessment of the site, and then the remediation strategy that they've proposed is appropriate, and the details that they've provided in relation to gas membranes and in terms of construction are appropriate. So the condition is such that they have to provide a validation report that those remediation strategy elements have been implemented before people can occupy. So they have to provide that to us to fully discharge that condition if this is approved. And then whilst they're building the properties, obviously they have to get building regulations, and building regulation sign off includes several checks on site and visits, and part of that will include checking the installation of the remediation works in terms of landfill gas and the detail that they did. So that's another check on top, and another assurance to future occupiers that the work has been completed.
Thank you.
Councillor Gloucester.
Thank you, Chair. If I remember correctly, I think this is a site where that existing property at the entrance of the site had quite a high brick wall at the side of it, didn't it?
Yeah, that's what's been removed.
Yeah, I just wonder about the lamppost, because obviously you've put that radius into the entrance, but the lamppost is still there, so the actual benefit of that radius is taken away. I presume that lamppost isn't a local authority one looking at it, and it belongs to the property, but it just seems to defeat the object of the radius being put in, and I just wondered if anything can be done about that.
It is a local authority lamppost, that one.
If you look at slide 5, the initial site photos taken from Medlock Road, you can see that it's actually been moved. It's right in the corner of the left-hand photo, and it's sort of directly abuts the wall, which is the pillar of the driveway on that side.
All right, brilliant. That's all right. I hadn't noticed that on that one, to be fair. Thank you.
Has anybody else got any more comments? I think most of the conditions here. Councillor Jakes, did you want to?
Oh, sorry, it is just a quick one. But one of the comments from the residents of wood houses was, what is the point of having of putting a planning application in and then having all the conditions removed? And I just wondered what we say to those residents who obviously feel that, you know, that they've already stated how they feel about the original one, and now we're actually overriding these conditions.
That's a fair point. I think the issue is in the way in which the application's described. So what they're doing is, they initially stated in their application to remove them, but what we're actually doing is varying the majority of the conditions. There aren't any that are removed in their entirety, if you see what I mean. It's about, there's always, generally in planning conditions, there's a pre-commencement element, and then there is a requiring you to comply with the things that you're submitting to deal with it before you start. So basically, this application seeks to vary a vast majority of the conditions, but they are all still true to their original requirement, only they have given us the details. So instead of saying you must submit the following details and then work to them, they have given it us, so we're removing the portion saying pre-commencement you must provide this. We're saying you now must work to this, and to discharge this condition you must be wholly in accordance with this detail. So it's just the wording. It's an application to vary conditions in terms of removing the pre-commencement element, not remove them.
Would I be right in saying that the vast majority of these conditions are actually improvements and clarification of the original application? Yeah,
it's filling in. It's filling in the matters that they didn't provide originally. That's what planning conditions do. It allows you to, planning conditions allow you to approve a scheme when another matters need further detail down the line. Because once you've got an approval, then you can go out and do your full surveys of land contamination and drainage and things like that, and bring those details back to us. It allows a developer to sort of stage its processes and allows them to discharge it. And it's a common practice. You see the conditions every planning committee. It's just, instead of seeking to discharge the conditions, they've sought to vary them and take out the pre-commencement part and word it in that they're going to work to the details submitted.
Has anybody else got any contributions at all? If not, I'll move approval of the application.
I'll second, Chair.
Thank you. Could we go to a vote on that, please?
Councillor Davis,
For.
Councillor Gary,
For.
Councillor Gloucester,
For.
Councillor Harkness,
For.
Councillor Hewitt,
For.
Councillor Jakes,
Abstain.
Councillor Vivian,
For.
Sheldon, Councillor Sheldon,
For.
thank you. Councillor Surjan,
For.
Councillor Dean.
For.
That's 9 for and 1 abstention.
Indeed, that application is approved. The only other item of business I've got is appeals. Could we note the appeals?
Noted.
Noted.
Thank you very much indeed. That concludes the meeting. Could I wish everybody the best Christmas that you can have in the present circumstances, and hopefully we'll see you all in the new year, and hope everything will be improving by then. Thanks very much indeed. Ta.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Bye.
Chair as well.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you. Take care.